There's a moment that happens to almost everyone somewhere between the ages of 75 and 85. It's quiet, nobody warns you about it. It's the moment when the phone stops ringing quite as much, when the calendar has more blank squares than full ones, and when you catch your own reflection and think, when did I become the person people worry about instead of the person people call for advice? If that moment sounds familiar, I want you to stay with me for the next few minutes, because what I'm about to share isn't just another list of health tips. It's a mirror. And by the end of this video, you're going to know exactly where you stand, and more importantly, you're going to understand why the 6 things I'm about to describe are becoming rarer and rarer among people your age, and why doing even 1 or 2 of them puts you in a category that doctors, researchers, and even your own grandchildren would call remarkable. Here's something most people don't want to admit out loud. Getting older isn't the hard part. Staying yourself while getting older is the hard part. Somewhere along the way, a lot of good, strong, capable people quietly start shrinking their own lives. They stop trying new things because it feels safer not to. They stop reaching out because they're afraid of being a bother. They let their world get smaller, one skipped invitation at a time, one cancelled plan at a time, until one day the walls of that world are so close they can barely turn around. And the tragic part is, most of them don't even notice it happening. It creeps in slow, like fog rolling over a field. But then there are the others. The ones who, at 75, at 80, even at 85, are still doing the things that keep a person fully alive, not just breathing, but alive. And when you meet one of these people, you feel it immediately. There's a spark in their eyes, a steadiness in their voice, a kind of quiet strength that younger people are drawn to without even knowing why. If you've ever met someone like that, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And today, I want to walk you through the 6 things these remarkable people still do, because I have a strong feeling that as I describe each one, you're going to recognize pieces of yourself. And that recognition, that feeling of wait, that's me, is going to matter more than you think. Let's start with the first one, because it's the one most people get wrong. The people who are truly thriving in their 70s and 80s still make their own decisions. Not the big dramatic ones necessarily, but the small daily ones. What to eat for breakfast, whether to take the stairs or the elevator, what time to go to bed. It sounds so simple it almost feels silly to mention, but here's the truth nobody tells you. As people age, family members, even loving, well-meaning family members, often start making decisions for them. Where to sit, what to wear, whether they're capable of doing the dishes without breaking something. It comes from love, but it slowly chips away at something precious, a person's sense of control over their own life. And here's what the research keeps showing us, over and over again. The seniors who maintain a strong sense of autonomy, who keep making their own choices even about small things, tend to report higher life satisfaction and a stronger sense of purpose than those who hand that control over, even willingly. If you're still the one deciding what your day looks like, even in small ways, that's not stubbornness, that's strength, and it's rarer than you think. Now here's the second thing, and this one might surprise you. The people who are aging the most gracefully are still learning something new, not because they have to, not for a test or a job, just because curiosity never left them. Maybe it's a grandmother who decided at 78 she wanted to figure out how video calling worked so she could see her great-grandkids' faces instead of just hearing their voices on the phone. Maybe it's a retired mechanic who picked up watercolor painting at 81 because he saw a class flyer at the community center and thought, why not? The specific activity doesn't matter. What matters is the willingness to still be a beginner at something. Because here's what happens to so many people as they get older. They start believing that learning is a young person's game. Convince themselves it's too late, too hard, too embarrassing to not know something. And so they stop trying new things altogether. But the ones who keep that beginner's spirit alive, the ones who are still willing to feel a little clumsy while they figure something out, they're doing something incredibly powerful for their minds. Staying mentally engaged with new challenges is one of the most consistent patterns researchers find in people who remain sharp well into their 80s and 90s. If you've picked up a new hobby, learned to use a new gadget, or even just started reading books outside your usual genre in the last year, you are doing something most people your age have quietly given up on. The third thing is one that's close to my heart, because I think it's the most overlooked. The people who are truly thriving in their later years still touch other people's lives on purpose. I don't mean grand gestures. I mean the neighbor who still checks in on the older woman down the street, not realizing that woman might be younger than they are. I mean the person who still remembers birthdays and sends actual cards in the mail. I mean the one who still shows up to help a friend move a piece of furniture, even if it means taking 3 breaks along the way. Somewhere in our culture, we started associating giving with being young and strong, and receiving with being old and needing help. But that's backwards, and the people who refuse to accept that role, the ones who keep finding small ways to give, to help, to show up for others, they're tapping into something that keeps a person feeling essential. Feeling needed. And feeling needed, genuinely needed, not just tolerated, might be one of the most underrated ingredients in a long, vibrant life. If you're still the one people call when they need a hand, not because you have to, but because you want to. You already know exactly what I'm talking about. Let's pause here for a second, because I want to ask you something. How many of these 3 so far describe you? Be honest with yourself, because what I'm about to share next is where things get even more interesting, and I promise you, the next 3 might hit even closer to home. The 4th thing is physical, but not in the way you might expect. It's not about running marathons or lifting heavy weights. The people who are aging remarkably well still move their bodies every single day, in whatever way their body allows. For some, that's a walk around the block. For others, it's gardening for 20 minutes. For others still, it's simply getting up and doing their own housework instead of letting it pile up. The specific movement matters far less than the consistency. It's the thing that so many people don't realize until it's too late. The human body doesn't fail suddenly. It fails gradually, through disuse. Muscles that aren't used weaken. Balance that isn't practiced fades. And the tricky part is, this decline often happens so slowly that people don't notice until a simple task, getting up from a chair, climbing a few stairs, suddenly feels much harder than it used to. But the people who keep moving, even gently, even slowly, even if it takes them twice as long as it used to, they're sending a signal to their own body every single day that says, we're not done yet. And their bodies listen. If you still make it a point to move, even just a little, every single day, you are doing something that separates you from a huge percentage of people your age who have quietly settled into the couch and stopped fighting for their own mobility. The 5th thing might be the most surprising one on this list, because it has nothing to do with physical health at all. The people who are truly thriving in their 70s and 80s still laugh, easily and often. Real laughter. Not polite chuckles, but the kind that catches you off guard and makes your eyes water a little. Think about the people in your life who still have that quality. They're magnetic, aren't they? People want to be around them. And here's what's fascinating. As people age, and especially as they experience loss, and by this stage in life, most people have experienced real loss, a spouse, close friends, sometimes even children, there's a very real temptation to let the heaviness of that grief settle permanently over everything. To stop finding things funny. To stop letting yourself feel light. It's understandable. Grief is real, and it deserves to be honored. But the people who find their way back to laughter, who allow themselves to still find joy in a silly joke, a funny memory, a grandchild's ridiculous story, they're doing something that protects them in ways that go far beyond the moment of laughing itself. They're keeping a door open. A door that says, even after everything I've lost, I still have room for joy. That door, once it closes completely, is very hard to open back up. If you still laugh, really laugh, on a regular basis, you are holding onto something incredibly precious, whether you realize it or not. And now, the 6th thing. This is the one that ties everything else together. And honestly, I think it might be the most important one on this entire list. People who are aging with strength and grace still have something to look forward to. Not someday, not vaguely, but specifically. A phone call with a grandchild this weekend. A trip they're planning, even a small one. A garden they're waiting to see bloom in the spring. A book club meeting next Tuesday. It doesn't have to be big. It just has to be real, and it has to be theirs. Here's the hard truth about what happens when that sense of future disappears. When someone stops having things to look forward to, when every day starts to feel identical to the one before it, something inside a person starts to dim. Not dramatically, quietly, but it shows. In the eyes. In the posture. In the voice. And on the flip side, people who maintain a sense of forward momentum, who always have something on the calendar, something to plan for, something to hope for, they carry themselves entirely differently. There's a lightness to them, a reason to get up in the morning that goes beyond routine. If you can answer, right now, without thinking too hard, what you're looking forward to this week, you already know you're one of the rare ones. So let's bring this all together, because I want you to really sit with this for a moment. Making your own decisions, staying curious and learning new things, showing up for other people, moving your body every day, even gently, laughing easily and often, and always having something to look forward to. 6 things. That's it. They don't require money. They don't require perfect health. They don't require anything except the choice, made over and over again, to keep showing up as yourself, fully, even as the world around you changes and sometimes tries to shrink you down into something smaller and quieter than you actually are. If you counted up how many of these describe you, and it was 4, 5, or all 6, I want you to understand something important. You are not just aging. You are thriving. And in a world where so many people your age have quietly given up on one or more of these things, sometimes without even realizing it, you are doing something genuinely remarkable. You should be proud of that. Truly proud. Not in an arrogant way, but in the deep, quiet way that comes from knowing you fought to stay yourself when it would have been so much easier to fade into the background. And if you counted and only found 1 or 2, please hear me when I say this is not a moment for shame or discouragement. This is a moment for hope. Because every single one of these 6 things can be started today. Not next year. Not when things calm down. Today. Pick just one. Call someone you've been meaning to call. Take a short walk around your yard. Learn one new thing, even something small. Let yourself laugh at something silly. Plan one small thing to look forward to next week. That's how it starts. Not with some massive transformation, but with one small choice that tells your own heart and mind, I'm still here, and I'm not done yet. I want to leave you with this thought, because I think it matters more than anything else I've said today. Age is not the enemy so many people believe it to be. The real enemy is the slow, quiet surrender that so many people mistake for simply getting older. But you, if you're still here, watching this, thinking about your own life, your own choices, your own days, you have already proven something important. You haven't surrendered. And that, more than any number on a birthday cake, is what truly makes someone remarkable. If this video spoke to you, if you saw yourself in even one of these 6 things, do something for me. Hit that like button right now, because it genuinely helps this message reach other people who need to hear it today. And if you haven't already, subscribe to this channel, because we're going to keep having these honest, real conversations about what it truly means to live a strong, meaningful, joyful life in these remarkable years. Tell me in the comments which of these 6 things describes you the most. I read every single one, and I would love to hear your story. Thank you for spending this time with me today. You are stronger and more remarkable than you know, and I'll see you in the next video.